Three, two, one. Don't shake your head, man. So we have our. I'm just gonna ignore it. Thanks for joining us, Tariq, all the way from Vancouver, man. West Coast.
Thanks for having me today, lads.
West Coast, Canada. Throw up the West signs. You gotta throw it.
How you doing?
I'm good, guys. Yeah, it's a blustery, wintry morning here. I'm very blessed to be living in such an amazing place like Vancouver. We're actually on a place ironically called the Sunshine Coast. Nice. Whoever named this part of the world definitely had either the world's best sense of humor, or desperately wanted this region to become a tourist hotspot after the fact. So it's interesting because it's sunny for a couple of months of the year, but yeah, he definitely needs to seek some therapy about his lying issues.
How long have you been out there?
Well, probably going on 2.5 years now. It was an interesting progression and change over from Bahrain. I'd moved over to Bahrain from the UK. I'd only been there about 2.5, maybe 3 years before moving over here. So it was a couple of fast transitions, couple of fast changes over the years. But yeah, very interesting move. I love it. It's a fantastic country, great people. Yeah, I can't complain at all about anything.
Yeah, the Canadians are all right, man. I like me some Canadians, man. They're good people.
We're the best.
Yeah, I've heard you Honduras like Canadians.
Yeah, we the best.
We the best.
We the best. So look, you have like a quite interesting background. Obviously, your the boxing thing is going to be the focus of the conversation today. But tell us about yourself, man. Like you've studied as a lawyer. You're a lawyer. You're actually.
I am actually. I mean, I haven't been a member of any law society for a couple of years now. I haven't renewed any of my legal professional legal qualifications or paid any of my professional fees. So I'm certainly a layman and in the eyes of the law. Okay. But it doesn't stop people calling me up incessantly saying, "Hey man, I got this issue. Can you just read this contract real quick?" I absolutely love that. I mean, I think it's tremendous. If lawyers read contracts real quick, there wouldn't be so many lawyers. But yeah, my background is in law initially. I never practiced contentious law. I was never a guy in court, trying to argue cases. I was actually more involved in the corporate side of things. Okay. I was involved mainly with financial institutions. Pretty soulless, heartless work, never met a single client in person type thing. Yeah. Basically making people that had money more money, I guess. And then I moved into like a corporate formation, corporate consultancy type law. Yeah. And my last area of law that I practiced was it was around the U.S. tax law. I don't know if you guys have heard of a wonderful thing called FATCA, the Foreign Accounts Tax Compliance Act.
No.
We weren't really giving legal advice, but we were helping banks and financial institutions in Bahrain adhere to a new Internal Revenue Service law that chases people for money all around the world. Basically, it's ingenious. If you meet any certain indicia that the IRS deem you to qualify as, you got to pay tax no matter where you live.
Wow.
So we saw people like Tina Turner becoming a Swiss citizen. So very sad days.
I gotta say the acronym is fitting. Did you say FATCA? Is that the acronym?
FATCA. Yeah, FATCA, Foreign Accounts Tax Compliance Act. So you can see why I quit. Yeah, just trying to say shit like that is tremendously heartbreaking. But it's pretty soulless.
So you're like, okay, I'm done with dealing with this bullshit. I want to help people, punch people in the face. Yeah, I want to.
Yes,
I'd rather do that.
It sounds like the perfect transition.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was great, man. It was great. The last company I worked for wasn't really a law firm per se. They were more of a consultancy. Great group of people, great friends, but I really almost over lunch. I remember I was eating my lunch and I was like, man, I'm done. You know, and within like, there was a long and complicated process, but within a few days, I was in my garage. I lived in a very old compound in Bahrain that was built in the 60s for RAF personnel. And I was in this, I think the original beams in the garage were from the 60s. So hanging up that heavy bag was a dumb idea, actually, because it came down a few times. So you think after the fourth time this 100-pound bag came down, I would have learned my lesson. But yeah, I decided to start a little gym in my garage and just take some time off, take a hiatus. You know, I went from school to university to masters to law degree to law training to yalla baba ruh dabbar lak shughl, you know, like that kind of you know, brown family pressure. And you know, a couple of weeks in, I'm like, damn, like it's July. It's 54 Celsius, 103% humidity. You know, I don't have a salary. My garage floor was made of sand. Like, you know, I don't know if I can swear on here, but like, you know, a lot of different expletives came to mind. What the fuck am I doing? But it was a tremendous time. It was terrifying. It was exciting. But, you know, the thing that really made me happy was the fact that I could wear shorts and flip-flops most of the day, but that I could pursue, you know, the sport that I really fell in love with many years before, and, you know, just help people. And my initial clients were housewives with a bit of expendable income and nothing to do. And I just had some fun, and it grew from there.
Amazing.
It really grew a lot from there.
Amazing. See, man, I think that's like everyone has this like dream of ditching their corporate or, you know, whatever is bogging them down to follow their dream and do something that they love. And
yeah,
I love hearing stories like that, man. Like stories of people getting up and doing it. Like fucking hell. Like,
it's true. And then you have a passion for it. So it's something that you
exactly.
pursue.
You know, I almost feel guilty, you know, because I used to say to people, like, I can't believe people are paying me to do this, you know, and it was always my dream to become a soccer player, you know, like pretty close in a few occasions. And, you know, but ultimately you have to be honest with yourself and look at what your actual prospects are. And, but I mean, boxing I never really thought I would go into a career that involved boxing. You know, I got involved in boxing because I was being bullied. But I say to people, I can't believe people are paying me to do this. Like, you know, I love this stuff, you know, and, you know, I get to watch boxing all day. I get to talk to people about boxing all day, you know, and I thought it would have gotten old, but it certainly hasn't, you know, and it's definitely been an awesome progression from coaching housewives in this, you know, fucked up garage in Bahrain, you know, to, you know, I'm currently coaching, you know, pro professional athletes, you know, high level amateurs that are competing in nationals that, you know, trying to have Olympic aspirations, for example. You know, we've set up youth programs in Bahrain and in Canada for young boxers to progress, and we've had a lot of success there. By we, I mean, I'm very blessed to have an awesome team, you know, around me that I can really draw on their skills. But, you know, it's been tremendous, and like every facet of my life is you know, based around something I really love. So, you know, I was lucky that I kind of took the bull by the horns, I guess, and it worked. You know, and I say to people out there, you know, who ask me all the time, like, man, I'm stuck in this job. Like, I hate it. Like, I love, you know, professional knitting or whatever it is that they love. And, you know, what do? I'm just like, man, if you love it, fucking go for it. You know, and I think that your timing, the selection of your timing is so important. Like, obviously at the time I had no obligation. I have kids and I have a family. You know, I just met who was to be my wife, who gave me the same advice. She's like, just go for it. You know, and I'm glad I did. I'm certainly glad I did. So
explain, tell us the journey. Like, okay, so you started off in your garage, then out of the garage, you set up the first gym was in Bahrain. So Lift or the Bahrain Boxing Club. So tell us about the different things, because you're involved in so many different setups. So just walk us through that whole path.
Sure. Sure. So yeah, we started in my garage, and you know, I met a fella who I didn't know anything about sports management. You know, the only thing I knew about gyms was I buy memberships for gyms and never fucking go. You know, and like 80% of gym goers, you know, and I met a guy who was a trainer, and he was like, hey man, like, you know, I need help setting up this gym, this company that I want to set up. can you just go over this contract real quick? And I was like, what do you got? Let me see. Because corporate formation was something that, it was a bread and butter thing for me. You know, I was in and out of the Ministry of Commerce like every day, like cursing, you know, everybody up and down, and the inshallah bukra mentality.
Inshallah.
Which I don't have to do that anymore, thank God. But he, you know, I looked at what he had, and he's like, hey man, you know, like, you're boxing right now, you know, do you want to, I think it was to offset some of his rent, like, do you want to get out of the garage and, you know, take like a third or whatever? I was like, you know what, that might be a good idea. We talked about it more and more. And I realized the guy didn't have the financing behind him to be able to set up this idea that he had. And I had a wee bit of money left over, you know, like indemnity and a couple of BD of savings, and a very generous family behind me that you know, kind of looked at the concept and said, okay, we'll back you with X amount. And I came to Canada on holiday to propose to my wife, and by the time I got back, this guy decided he was moving to Colorado.
What?
So
no.
at that point, being Bahrainian, he was an English fella, really nice guy, like nothing against him. Like, he pursued his dream, and he met a woman that he fell in love with, and you know, I'd love to, you know, say hi to him again one day. You know, we didn't really speak much after that, but like, absolutely nothing against the fella. I was left with a lease of this 1,500 square meter facility that was a shell. Like, there wasn't even concrete poured on the floor. There was no electric.
So he hadn't even set it up yet. So he still was in there.
No.
Oh wow.
There was nothing there, man.
Wow.
Like, he put an order in for a bunch of equipment, and I signed the lease on this place. And like, at that point, I think it was a lot of money per month for me anyway. Let's put it that way. Yeah. And so, you know, from there, I'm like, I came back to Bahrain, and I'm like, where the fuck is this guy? And what the fuck's going on? I don't know anything about running gyms. I don't, you know, do I have to pour concrete myself? Like, you know, what's going on? Sadly, at that point, the Ministry of Commerce in Bahrain decided that they were going to block the formation of specific commercial activities. Fortunately, gyms was on the list, but I had already signed the lease. So we had to wait like 6 to 8 months basically before we could even start construction. At this point, I'm like, shit, man, like that.
What did I get myself into?
Foreign accounts, tax compliance shit, like, looks really appealing. Yeah. But I had a very supportive future wife. We got through it. We ended up, I mean, just from the, you know, the fly in my seat, decided that this was how this gym was going to be laid out. And, you know, the concept of lift was really, when I used to train in a lot of places, you did your strength conditioning and your weights and, you know, your fitness training in one gym. And then you had a separate membership to go to the boxing club or to go to a BJJ club, or, you know, whatever it is that you're pursuing, other martial art you're pursuing. So I had the concept, obviously, of using the equipment that we bought and incorporating, you know, an all-in-one facility whereby, you know, we offer commercial boxing, you know, for, you know, fun box, whatever it is, boxing fitness, and setting up Bahrain's first competitive boxing club, which was very interesting because within 48 hours of that, there were about 48 different boxing clubs in Bahrain. No disrespect to anybody, no names mentioned. And we had to then, you know, go on a period of trying to hire people, you know. So like, I went through a full operation from the ground up, and I totally blagged it, and I fucked up a lot. And you know, a few years later, we're looking at 3 competitive boxing clubs where we've got our spin brand, you know, pun intended. You know, that we have a studio on the Sunshine Coast. We, unfortunately, due to COVID, closed another gym down. You know, we had Lift 2 basically, which was a direct replica of what we had in Bahrain. We had, you know, obviously we've created a branding model that we adhere to. We've created specific marketing models that we adhere to, and you know, we've been able to successfully, you know, move our brand from Bahrain to Canada and have it appeal to the market here. So there's a lot of potential, and it's been awesome. You know, I never thought I would go down, you know, this type of path in my career, but, you know, we've trained easily, upwards of 60 competitive athletes. We've had, thousands of members come through and use our brand. And, every day is a surprise and a frustration, but I wouldn't change it for the world, man.
It's wild. What's your end game? Like, where are you seeing all of this go? Is it to build like a number of gyms, or is it to go down the route of developing fighters and boxers and being the next Don King? Like, what? How are you doing this? Like, where are you going with this?
I mean, look, we have a very clear plan. Like, one thing that I've always, it's a blessing and a curse, was, I've got a tremendous amount of focus when I'm doing something that I really love. Pre-COVID, we were very, very much on track on getting into our long-term planning for what we wanted to do with our brand. Looking at the way that markets are moving within the fitness industry, there's a lot of saturation now.
Of course.
A lot of market saturation, especially with, alternative fitness methods. There's every street corner has got a gym on it.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, coupled with that, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Everybody wants to be, this hashtag entrepreneur. Social media is a major influencer in that. And, we've decided to, for our end game, our long-term goal is to take our concept, which in my opinion really, really works. We've managed to take this from a garage to, a gym in the GCC and transfer that brand into North America.
Yeah.
So, no matter what market you operate in, we really believe that our brand sticks. And it really is dependent on having fighters in a gym where you've got mums in yoga pants and the same gym, operating within the same atmosphere. There's definitely an appeal. There's definitely, this atmosphere that people seek out. So I will always be training fighters. I will always be trying my best to, improve people's boxing from a competitive level. And we are moving down the route of franchising our concept and creating a franchising or licensing model.
Okay.
There are 2 or 3 different models we're looking at. We're looking at a home model. We're looking at a boutique model, and we're looking at a larger kind of small to medium sized gym with different cost structures, all based around the same concept.
Okay. And are you looking to like incorporate specific programs, specific routines? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, what we have done over the last few years, I've got a tremendous team. A big shout out to my team, in Bahrain. People like Sandeep Menon, Lloyd Parks, Latham Dura. I don't know if you met this guy. Stay away from him if you ever do come across him.
My
brother Khalid. We've got Olympian, previous Olympians who are working with us now, and the guy Kamiso Ikapolang. We've got tremendous local talent in Bahrain, Fahad Dosari, and all these guys. We've got a great team of people behind us, and we've these guys. What we've done is we've embarked on trying to basically, ensure that we have structure to our session. So if you do, we have about 12 or 13 different branded classes. Each class has a very specific structure, where we've developed basically a manual on how to run each class. Everything from music to movements to, your execution, your warm up, your warm down. And this is very much around the basis of us being able to plug and play, basically, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
So, we're absolutely working on this. It's definitely a work in progress, but we're getting there.
It's very interesting.
Cool.
Something I've always wondered with these type of franchise gyms, like I'm kind of comparing it to like the F45s and the CrossFits, which are, well-known global brands, training masses of people. I think you have a really good formula by the sounds of it, is that it's the core of your service is not, yes, obviously you have your branded workouts, but I think it's the people that you have. I think that's the challenge with some of these global gyms, is that how do you translate or migrate this mentality in a franchise setting? How do you ensure your trainers that are in Houston or in anywhere in the world are carrying your message, or making sure that, how Tariq does it, I'm going to do it the same way, because the success is obviously from the passion that you carry forward.
For sure. No, I mean, it's a great question. It's definitely something that we have come up with, as part of, how do we maintain our brand structure? Look, bottom line is we don't have the bells and whistles that other fitness facilities have. We don't have $1 million, $1 million dinar budget. Like, we just don't have it. That's not who we've been. And with all due respect to your kind of global gym type style franchisee gyms, there's no pretentiousness in what we do. Everywhere you go, every lift gym you walk into has the bones of the Bahrain HQ gym, but the flesh and blood is really based around the franchisee, okay, or the licensee who will be. The way that we're trying to kind of homogenize our culture is really through something that we're developing. I mean, I'm divulging stuff that I really shouldn't be talking about, but it's fine. We're developing something called the Lift Academy. So Lift Academy is very similar to McDonald's Burger University. I don't know if you guys have heard of Hamburger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure,
yeah.
You obviously have. No matter who the franchisee is, no matter what level the guy's operating at, you go and you flip burgers. And I don't know where it is, Tennessee somewhere. With all due respect to McDonald's, I should have done my homework on where it is. Lift Academy is really there to develop more than just how do you execute, this Tabata class, or how do you execute, this boxing boot camp.
Yeah. It
really is about connecting our ethos, our ideals, and our mentality around, things like community. We are a massive driver behind a lot of community projects wherever we go. In Bahrain, I developed something called the Malachem Scholarship Fund. This was to bring Bahrainis in who couldn't afford, didn't know how, had dubious families around, left the good windy, like things like that. We had, so literally moms turning up, to the first training session, kind of almost threatening you, to, supporting Parkinson's charities, breast cancer charities, all our fight nights, which is something I'd like to talk about, is their charity fight nights. And the very ethos and basis around what we do is attracting the community to come into an environment that's not pretentious. Everybody knows your name. Coming into limited size classes, something that, although they're structured, varies. The trainer, will obviously put their touch on it, and it's very much built around the centralization of, come in here. We're not necessarily a gym. We're kind of more of a community center, which is where I learned boxing. I learned boxing in community centers in the west coast of Scotland and the UK. You pay like 75 pence as a junior or £1.50 as an adult, and what kept me going back, wasn't the fact that, I don't know, like indoor tennis for over 75s was on next and you had to leave super fast. It was, or their crappy equipment. It was, the people that went. And so very much part of our brand, which we're trying to develop, which is not going to be easy. It's going to take a number of years. We're going to mess up a number of times, I'm sure, is retaining this ethos of honesty, of community, of trying to lack in pretentiousness, being welcoming, and taking the intimidation out of the sports side, which is boxing. Because a number of pros around the world, the two most intimidating places to walk into are tattoo parlors and boxing clubs.
Exactly.
We want to take that away. So whoever our franchisees are, money talks, but we definitely are going to be very selective about where we go with that and who is really kind of deemed fit to operate, I guess.
It's pretty cool.
And then that integration, like, okay, so in one side you have this systematic gym concept that you're looking to franchise, and the other, you're sitting there working with amateur, professional boxers that are looking to take it to the next level, that obviously aren't going to be part of that structure, right? So they're not going to be following these classes. They're going to need that one-on-one support. So how are you working around that and giving opportunities for boxers to thrive, especially for example, in Bahrain, where I'm sure up until your setup there wasn't really something substantial to really give, an avenue or a pathway for someone to pursue it in a career perspective. So.
Sure. I mean, so I think it's two different questions. I think firstly, with regards to our models, with the home setup and with the boutique setup, for the franchise models that we plan to offer out, there's going to obviously the competitive boxing side of things isn't really a part of the bones of those structures. You know, it can be really. Yeah. If somebody's like, hey man, like I want to set up a garage boxing club out of, you know, the same process that you did, you know, it would be something bespoke that we could offer. So that the boxing club culture obviously will be missing in those models. But the bigger models, really the basis is, if you want to be an operator, you know, we want to see your CV, you know, without myself trying to sound exclusive, you know, or trying to exclude people or shoot ourselves in the foot by not selling franchises, you know, rolling them down the conveyor belt.
Yeah.
You know, we really want to make sure that you do have community intentions, etc. and so forth, because we're going to be divulging a lot of our IP, a lot of our intellectual property based around how to run a boxing club, you know, in an ethical, community-based manner, and obviously provide the technical nous and know-how of how to, it's like raising kids, man. Like, how do you get, you know, this human being that's walking to the door saying, I want to learn the sport, and I want to compete, you know, how do you get them from, you know, that kind of recruit level to turning them into, you know, a finely tuned athlete. And, you know, if we're going to be doing that, and, you know, this knowledge isn't necessarily my knowledge, you know, we're lucky to have people like, you know, Kimisa Kapoling and even Laith, you know, your brother, you know, coming in with a background, you know, of being in these types of situations. If we're going to divulge that, you know, there's almost an interview process that's involved, you know, from that aspect. And you know, this is the challenge that we face, and this is the question that we need to ask ourselves, like, about, you know, from a corporate perspective, like, what are we here to do? You know, what's our goal? Is our goal to just make as much money as fucking possible and stack up for bank accounts? You know, that would be a fantastic thing to do if we were a success. You know, God willing, that happens one day. But, you know, if we don't, you know, if the money aspect of things, which I hate talking about, there's a level of vulgarity around money that I feel, if it doesn't work out, you know, and things go the wrong way in that perspective, have we been able to help different communities? Have we been able to set up boxing clubs where kids and, you know, people with Parkinson's can come and box, and competitive athletes can go in? And that's really the basis of our passion, you know. And being an entrepreneur is the scariest, loneliest, you know, shittiest financial time probably for the first 10, 15 years of your operation, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And, you know, retaining the aspect of fun around not knowing what's going to happen, you know, retaining the frustration of troubleshooting, but doing what you love is going to be very much the basis of what we're trying to transfer into people's operational psyche when it comes to running these boxing clubs. So it's definitely a challenge. We don't have the answers yet. It's something that, you know, in maybe 10 years time, if we're still around, COVID smashed us, I got to be honest, but sure. We're getting there. We're fighting really, really hard. And we're lucky to have people supporting us. But if, you know, once we get 10 years down the line, I'm sure there's going to be different things that we're going to be like, man, we didn't even notice that at the start, or like, this is how we do this, or a franchisee could come back to us, or an operator could come back to us and say, hey man, like, you know, this doesn't work, you know. And definitely through continuous improvement, we hope to get to Formula one day, and I think it takes time.
It's such a tough spot. Like you brought it up now with the whole issue of COVID and all of that. Like you're saying, you're getting smashed. A lot of small businesses are feeling it. Something like, you know, the gyms, right? Where it's this weird paradox that we're in right now, right? So we have this virus that affects respiratory elements. We know that being active, being fit is a good way to counter. It's one of the things that you can do to support your system, to fight it if you do get it. Yet they're telling gyms like yourself to either shut down or minimize, or, you know, reduce the way that you're seeing all these people come into your place. How do you feel about that, man? Like, how have you been coping with it? How has it been in Vancouver, and what are you doing around that?
Man, it's a charged question to ask somebody who's had to close gyms down and lay people off. You know, it's stunted our growth. You know, and in Canada anyway. And, you know, let me be clear about, you know, what happened with Canada. The reason, I'm gonna just digress very momentarily, but it does fall back in line. with motivations and, how we took decisions to operate during COVID and make decisions to close places down. When I moved to Canada initially, we weren't moving here to move here. Unfortunately, a member of my wife's family was very sick. Her stepfather was very, very sick. And, we decided, okay, look, let's go out there to support your family. I'll be going back and forth to Bahrain, which I have done, every few months I'll be back there or whatever. It's been a while since I have been able to go back. And when I got here, I wasn't allowed to work, wasn't allowed to earn any money. I didn't have my permanent residency or anything like that. I was here basically as a guest. I respected the fact that I couldn't work. So I volunteered at a boxing club.
Yeah.
The Sunshine Coast Boxing Club, which is a part of our competitive, program here. I kind of took over this boxing club and, I helped the fellow who founded it. He's still there. Fantastic guy called Rick Shannon. He's, one of Canada's best cut men. He's a fantastic old fella. He's really, really good guy. And, eventually I said, look, I got to earn a little bit of money and, I do the strength conditioning thing back home and I had no money basically to set up our gym here, and we kind of pulled in funding from X, Y, and Z and tiny bits of funding just to get something operating where we operate, which is the Sunshine Coast. But the community gym moved into our facility and we shared rent and, did a whole thing. And a lot of the community would come in. We offered free boxing for kids. Like if you were under 12, you come for free. Cool. We helped people with Parkinson's for free. And the point I'm trying to get to with COVID and the decisions that we made was when COVID hit us and we had to close down, the decision making that we put in front was obviously, okay, we're doing this for the community. Like we want to stop community spread. They're saying that, the shit is highly contagious. And if you get it, it's like Ebola, you're going to fucking die and blah, blah. And March, nobody knew what was going on. And, you turn on the TV and there's these hospital wards packed with people. So we're like, hey, my wife's father-in-law is very sick. Her grandmother's over 90. She unfortunately is not doing too well. My wife has really bad respiratory issues. So does her mom. So we're like, guys, we're closing, and it was only going to be for 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, all the people, forget the people come and pay to do spinning and do the whole commercial stuff, okay, that feeds us. All the people that came in for our boxing suffered, like badly. Mental health issues, anger issues, kids being unruly and hyperactive. And that was within 2 weeks. So you can imagine we're 9 months in. We closed that facility down in June, the beginning of June. And you can imagine, without trying to be, self-complimentary, you can imagine, there's been a massive gap in this community. And the decision to close really has affected a lot of people. The competitive athletes, who had plans this year, but also the community is being really, really badly affected. People's fitness levels have changed. People's mental health has changed. People's commitment to fitness and understanding, I'm talking about the kind of newbies or the people who are reluctant to get involved in fitness or fitness first timers that were just coaxed into the gym and they're enjoying it. That has taken a major stunt. And I think, I want to really kind of big up a lot of the gyms that have fought through it on the Sunshine Coast. Very small market. Population of 60,000 people. We're as rural as urban gets. We're an hour and a half from Vancouver, but you can't drive here. You have to take a boat or a seaplane. There's no road.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It's. I really commend them for sticking it out. I don't know how they're paying for rent. God bless them, but good luck to them. But the decision-making process to get there was heartbreaking. We were in mourning, I guess, as a boxing community and as our gym community for a few months. There are people who still call me up like, hey man, I want to do PT. Hey man, I want my kid to come to you. Hey man, is this and that going on? And Rick and a few of the guys have tried to kind of start something new here and there, but every time we do, there's a new restriction. Now you got to close down because boxing gyms are the main transmission of COVID, not Walmart's Black Friday sale. So. It's been a heartbreaking decision, not just for me, but many other gyms, based on, in my opinion, a lack of logic and scientific application. That's just my opinion.
How many people have you heard in Vancouver or in Canada or anywhere you heard got infected from going to a gym?
Well,
has there been
it's a good question.
I'm just curious because I'm trying to think. I haven't heard, at least here in Dubai.
About 100. About 100.
Oh, wow.
Okay. You know, and I'm talking about the news. I don't know these people.
Yeah.
But I do know personally of about 8 to 10 people who did contract it from going to a gym. It was a spinning gym. And another one was actually like a boxing for fitness type gym. But I don't think capacity regulations were met. I think when you look at what the business model of spinning is, you're purchasing a product that's going to, you know, if you buy a quality bike, you're purchasing a product that's going to be like 3,000 Canadian, anywhere between 2,500 to 3,500 Canadian. You need to purchase 25 of them. Okay. So then you luckily you can pack in a lot of people. So what a lot of gyms were doing were slowly but surely increasing the capacity, 2, 3, 4 bikes. Eventually you had 25 people in a small room. And I don't know if you guys have ever had the tremendous displeasure of sitting on a spinning bike for an hour doing this activity.
I walk by them at the gym. I just literally, I don't even.
If you respect the health of your perineum and your lungs, like don't sit on a bike with one of those seats and do that. But anyway, it's a very heavy respiratory exercise. There's a lot of heavy breathing, very tightly packed in, and you know the couple of occasions where I've heard of people getting infected are sadly in spinning studios. I feel for spinning studios because we have our own spin brand, but ultimately, man, I haven't heard of people contracting COVID in gym. It's not something I've heard of. Yeah,
because the reason I ask is I've been back to the gym the moment that Dubai allowed us to go back to the gym, and at first it was a limit. You have to book a slot. So you go on the app. I go to one of these franchisee gyms here, just because it's close by. It's convenient to have everything I need. It ticks all the boxes. So you'd have to book your slot. So I'd book the first morning slot because I know it's been sanitized and everything's fresh for the day.
Sure.
Keep my mask on. I wipe down before and after every exercise or machine I use. I'm wiping down. And I see everybody else doing it. If that's practiced, I don't see the issue with it. I think to your point is that if you don't practice sanitization or staying clean inside the gym, for sure it's going to get infected. But the thing is, the point I'm trying to say is that
absolutely
you take away that from people in worst time,
in modern history. People are struggling, like you said, psychologically, mental health.
The psychological impact is going to be much greater than the number of people infected. Yes, of course, COVID is a bad disease.
I'm with you on this one, Tariq, as well. Like I'm saying, like okay, the spinning, I get it. You're gonna pack in 25 people in a small room, and you're gonna spin, and everyone's breathing heavy. As our Prime Minister says, is speaking moistly, right? I'm down with that. Like that, okay, that doesn't make sense. Okay, but a gym, people lifting weights or treadmills, and you put a separation between the two.
Just keep your mask on.
Or just keep your mask on, exactly.
If you're willing to go in, then please keep your mask on. Yes, it's going to bother you.
Man. It's so weird because I'll tell you something. I'll be honest with you, Tariq. Like, obviously, we've had a lot of time to talk about it and think about it. We have the podcast. We've had multiple guests. And, I'm all over the place, to be honest. Like, some days I feel like I'm a little bit more hardline and say, like, okay, we need to really regulate, shut it down, be careful. And then there's other times where I'm like, it just, as you said, just doesn't make sense. Like scientifically, it starts to become a challenge, right? If you start weighing and looking at it purely from statistics, right? So I put on my MSc hat in health policy, and I come and I look at it as a randomized controlled trial and take decisions on what's best for the masses, irrespective of it's a person I know or it's a person that I don't know. Just take it as pure numbers. I struggle to understand some of the restrictions that have been placed, right? And why they've done it. You want people to be healthy. It's like telling people don't take vitamin D pills.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't make sense to me, right?
Yeah.
Like,
especially in a place like Canada where in the summer you can get away with exercising outside, but once October, November hits, good luck with that.
You're gonna struggle. And look, I think that the issue that people have had, and by people, let's talk about health authorities and government. Okay. I think the issues that people have had is they are grouping and clumping fitness activities into gyms. All gyms shut down. Okay. And fine, man, like trying to be able to mobilize a scientific opinion with a very minimal amount of data in a very short space of time to stop the spread of this highly infectious virus and give advice to, like you said, the masses is an incredibly hard thing to do. So let's not take away from the attempts and the intention behind all this. But when we go into the symptomatic side, I'm not talking about the virus, but the symptoms of closing gyms down or closing small businesses down, like a lot of restaurants and things like that. It's hard to do things by case basis. It's hard to group things even from a sector in each fitness industry. But what they have done is create a fear around fitness, because gyms are bad. All of a sudden fitness is bad, because spinning 25 people in one room is really super bad. Going to a boxing club and being able to be 6 to 10 feet apart and hitting a heavy bag and having your own 6 to 10 foot space around you with, good ventilation and, you're wearing a mask coming in and out and being able to mitigate the risks of this virus, should have been thought out. I sit on the board of directors for Boxing British Columbia. I got recently elected as the vice president of the association, third vice president of the association. I previously served as first director at large. And we were dealing with the governing body in Canada. It's called Sport. They really look at, they're basically the boss man of all the different sports, okay, compared to volleyball, wrestling, boxing, clay pigeon shooting, synchronized swimming, whatever the fuck it is you're doing. And, they each have their own ideas on how a return to sport should happen, why a ban should occur. And, dealing with them, like boxing, very bad, very, very bad. BJJ, terrible. Judo, awful. But I'm also a coach for the local women's soccer team. And you can have fucking 35 people at the side of a pitch, 22 people bumping and smashing into each other and tackling and spitting all over each other. And, I don't know if you played competitive soccer, but, it gets pretty greasy, man, when you're going into tackles or whatever. And these teams are allowed to travel all around the province. And it doesn't make any fucking sense. There's no linear application of what's going on. You're looking, and even within bodies like Sport, it's broken up into different sections according to which sport, they're in charge of. I would say that boxing is probably one of the safest sports to do right now. Boxers have a tremendous amount of discipline and a very deep love for the sport. You have to getting into ring and getting your teeth smashed out and getting fucking concussions and the training that you have to put in to do this shit. You're not fucking around. You're not going partying. You're not whatever it is that you're doing. Whereas team sports is 22 people, on the pitch at the same time. It's very, very difficult to be able to track that. Sure. When you go to a boxing show, right now, for example, and I know we're digressing away from the club and the business aspect of things, but I think it all falls into the same line of confusion of thinking of what's going on with fitness. When you go to a boxing show, you can have a boxer, his cornerman or his coach, and his second. That's a team of 3 people. You can have 10 of them. That's 30 people spaced out, waiting for their fight. You go in, it's 1v1, man.
Yeah.
The chances of mass contraction or being a super spreader, is pretty low, man. Because these people tremendously respect, their sport, their discipline, and them doing what they're told. Because they don't do that, they're fucking their future up with the sport. Like, it's the bottom line. And for this to then the same line of thinking applies to gyms, where spinning, your standard kind of commercial gym where you go and you've got, weights and machines and whatnot, boxing clubs, whatever it is, all being lumped together and saying all of this is bad. Yeah. Let's close it. No sense. Rather than, okay, some aspects of this are bad. Give us 30 to 60 days to try and figure this shit out. We'll give you some financial help to pay around. We've struggled massively financially. Like, we've been very, very lucky. We've had understanding landlords and staff and whatnot. And, I really want to thank everybody from the bottom of our hearts, for being so understanding from the commercial aspect of things. But what you're doing is not really, it's trying to use science without applying it to give an opinion on something you don't understand. And this has been the frustration for me, for other gym goers, for other gym owners, for other athletes. Like, there's far too little knowledge and practical application being applied to closing or prohibiting people from doing shit. And the side effects now are really starting to show. And you're going into the winter, man. Like, it's getting dark at fucking 3:30 here.
Yeah.
Seasonal affective disorder is horrible. It's a terrible thing on its own, even if you don't suffer from mental health issues. So taking away activities that increases serotonin levels and produce chemicals in your body. Literally, your brain produces chemicals in your body to make you happy when you work out, no matter what it is, from going on a walk or fucking triathlon. And this is obviously designed to keep the body going during physical practice. The brain is a tremendously, amazing part of the body, and it makes people happy, man. And honestly, COVID but the way COVID is being managed, in my opinion, around fitness has been a major fuck up. And we're going to look back on this in 15, 20 years time and go,
what the hell were you doing? Yeah, I agree with you.
Especially when you have LCBO, like liquor stores and beer stores are essential business. Keep those open. People get hammered every single day.
This is it. But this is what I mean. Is that, look, I agree. Like with what you said, Tariq, and you touched on it, is that I do sympathize with these policymakers, right? The complexity of it. They're they're not looking at it just purely from a gym perspective. They're seeing
intention is good
at large, and it becomes very hard to start breaking it into pieces. But that's why you have associations that are responsible for sports, and that's their fucking job, right? To sit and sift through. And we're 9 months in, right? Fucking hell.
The first 90 days, sure, we get it.
A month in, I get it.
Yeah.
You lump it up. You don't want to take risks. Fuck, that makes sense, right?
Totally.
But now, man, get on your shit. Like, you got to prioritize this stuff. Anyways, it's pretty wild. The other thing I wanted to bring it up as we're getting closer to our time, but I couldn't let you go without asking you.
I think I know where
man, I have to ask it, man. What do you think of all this bullshit exhibition fight? So you can tell by me saying bullshit how I feel about all this, right?
Okay, if there's anything
I have to bring it up
to make me angry, is to see
you can see the blood flowing.
Is to see a dude who, I don't even know what these fuckers do, man. The gamers or the YouTubers, I don't know why these people are celebrated in society. I've got no fucking idea. Your brother sent me a list of the highest earning celebrities. Okay, included a lot of sportsmen, but the top person is Kylie Jenner, $597 million a fucking year. I don't know what she does. I'm not going to get into that. Let's go into how this sport has been demolished from a identity point of view by allowing people who have absolutely no history. They haven't put the time in, they haven't put the effort in, they haven't spent 15 years getting, waking up and 5 a.m, going for a run to fight 9 minutes in the weekend. As an amateur boxer from the age of 12 all the way up to 18 and 19, and trying your best, to hone your skills, to learn. It's an art, it's a craft. Queensbury rules, the culture around that is a culture of gentlemanliness and sportsmanship. And you get these fuckwits going online and baiting people and fighting other YouTubers and fucking retired NBA stars, but then saying, I'm the future of the sport, and offering retired ex-boxers who, let's face it, man, if you're going to make $50 million for fucking 35 minutes of work, who the fuck's going to say no?
Of course, yeah.
But somebody's got to stand up. Somebody's got to stand up and say, this is the future of this sport, and this is the identity that we're transmitting to the world. And we're allowing these people who, have horrible fucking facial hair and absolutely, no shame about them to go online and be able to have the opportunity to step into a ring with an undefeated, unified former world champion for fucking millions of dollars. It's disgusting. It's got to stop. Somebody's got to smack them around. And boxing's got to take control. Promoters are ruining the sport.
Yeah. I see. For me, the danger in this is what do you what message are you cascading to the younger generation? The guy
this is it. That's the point. That's what
this is what I heard from the first Logan Paul fight. Sorry to interrupt, guys. From the first Logan Paul fight, people were like, this is going to be great for boxing. You're going to get kids that have never dreamt of being involved in boxing, and they're going to walk to boxing gyms, and boxing's going to explode, and it's just going to take off. And man, I haven't seen one fucking YouTube kid or a gamer walk in and be like, I want to be just like Logan or fucking Jake. Not one. Not one. I see them in the comment sections on Instagram and Facebook and all these fucking things, talking shit about something they don't understand. And people don't get, how much work a new pro has to do.
Of course.
Or how much time and energy and tears and blood and sweat and relationships breaking down, friendships breaking down, the money involved to get your first pro fight.
Yeah.
Which is, we're talking probably $300 a round.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's what's upsetting people. It's like handing somebody a fucking PhD and saying, here you go. Here's a scalpel and a bunch of shit. You've seen stuff on ER and whatever, go in and operate. And
just do that same thing.
You've had a guy who's worked his whole life through school and into medical school to become a doctor.
And this is it. That's exactly,
it's horrible.
What you're saying is exactly, that's where my problem is. Like, my problem is the message it sends to the youth about work ethic, about, this, you're taking a culture already that's instant gratification, and you're fueling it by letting some joker, right, who trained for 3 months and, as you said, fought a retired basketball player. And all of a sudden now him and his brother have become the go-to guys to have exhibition fights against the biggest and the best.
Yep.
And people think now everyone has that right. So now every dude on the street, and I think it's a very dangerous message. Like, forget about the bad elements of hard work and earning and trying and craft and follow and whatever. You're also putting a lot of people at risk, giving them this imagination that you could just watch a couple of Bruce Lee fights and go out and pick a fight with people on the street, because that's really dangerous. Like, you can get hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can,
and then they'll blame boxing for it.
This is it. Yeah, exactly. This is it. This is exactly what you're saying. But it stunts the sport, man. Because how many kids? I mean, I think I was fucking guilty of it. I used to watch Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan and fucking, and then go out and think I could do it, and I got my ass handed to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is what's happening to a lot of kids walking into gyms. 2 weeks in, I want to spar, and a lot of bad coaches or bad gyms, and there are a lot of them out there, be like, yeah, fucking jump in, man. Getting fucking teeth knocked out, or getting knocked out, or and then they're going home, and all of a sudden, boxing is this massive boogeyman in the community again. And we've done, there's been a tremendous amount of work to educate people on. You actually probably get more concussions in your life playing a career of soccer where you had the ball a lot.
Yeah,
a lot of mini concussions. Soccer actually on the list of concussive sports has a higher rate of concussion. Actually, there's a lot of science coming out now that a lot of pro footballers, people like Alan Shearer, is backing this massively, where they're saying long-term brain-related injuries are caused by this. But boxing clubs take a lot of effort and caution to maintain this image of the sport actually being a good sport for you. And when we have recklessness being applied, I mean, you saw the guy, what was his name again? The NBA guy, I don't know what his name was. What's his name again?
Sleepy something.
Sleepy something.
Yeah, there you go, man.
He played with
the
Knicks.
Adam,
the way he was operating.
Yeah,
something.
Yeah, he was completely Nate Robinson.
Yeah,
good one.
Nate
Robinson.
Right? So he was throwing himself at this guy. No training, no application, no understanding. It looked fucking horrible. It was dangerous. He could have been hurt a lot worse than probably what he was hurt. And this is where it comes. This is what it's boiling down to. A lot of people don't get it. A lot of people don't understand like the intricacies of slipping a punch. How long does it take for you to successfully be able to do that? Yeah. Especially as a professional fucking boxer. And like you say, man, like our society now wants success within a matter of months.
This is it.
Nobody's prepared to wait. Nobody's prepared to fuck up a million times and keep going at it. Yeah. And I hope this ends. I hope this shit ends. And what I would like to see, and I would respect them, and I would eat my shit and eat my words right now. If they stepped into a ring with another unknown pro at 2-0, the same record, that's had 15 years of amateur boxing behind them.
Exactly.
Go and fight him. Yeah. Go and tell me you're taking your training seriously after you fight somebody like him. Somebody who, if he doesn't win, isn't going to be able to get his next fight at $350, $500 a round.
Yeah.
That is somebody who's going to go in with very bad intentions and a lot of history behind him. And that's when these idiots are going to get hurt.
Yeah.
So, I'm against it. It's horrible. It's great business. Hats off to the businessmen of the sport that are doing this. Hats off to these idiots that are earning millions of dollars. I mean, I'm not earning millions of dollars. I'm calling them idiots.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know who the idiot is. Maybe it's me, but it's horrible for the sport, and I hope it stops.
Yeah.
Really,
I agree. Because look, I tell you something. I love boxing. So, like with my brother, we started boxing together ages ago, right? Like I was the one. Actually, my brother used to do kickboxing when he first started, and I used to do boxing because I was in Kitchener, and I used to train at the police club, which had the former trainer of Lennox Lewis, who took him to the Olympics, was there. So that's what got me into it. I got into boxing, then my brother got into it. But the point that I was trying to make is I love the sport so much, but I can tell you over the last 4 to 5 years, I'm falling out of love with boxing. And it's not because there's a shortage of good boxers. There's some amazing boxers out there. It's just a combination of different things. The collapse of HBO, the continued multiple belts, which I think is the biggest load of shit, the IBF, WBF, WBC, WBO nonsense that's there. And then on top of all of that, then you start seeing this shit. And then in parallel, to add salt in the wound, you have MMA and the UFC doing things right. You know what I mean? And I'm looking at what they're doing. And I love, now I'm a huge fan of MMA, right? And even I'll tell you something what's quite funny is when I started boxing, the Canadian Jiu-Jitsu champ used to come to the gym, and he used to love sparring with me just to kind of hone up on his stand-up. I used to see him, and he used to sit and do BJJ classes one-on-one with up-and-coming fighters. And man, he used to fuck these people up. And he'd tell me like, Namir, you want to come give it a try? Like, fuck you, man. I see what you do to those people. Like, I don't want to be part of that. So he used to come and he used to make me do 5-minute rounds. Anyways, the point, all of that said is, how do you see, like, what do you think will save boxing? Or do you feel that is happening to boxing? Is it really falling apart?
No, look, I think boxing is making a resurgence. Like, we had a Triple G fight last night. We have Canelo fighting Smith tonight. Can't wait. It's going to be a phenomenal fight. We have a very healthy heavyweight division, which is something. You look at the correlation of interest in boxing
and heavyweights, and absolutely
what the talent is in the heavyweight pool.
Sure.
Okay, people want to see the big boys fighting.
Sure.
And no disrespect to your average Joe or your couch boxing fan, they don't maybe respect the welters and the lightweights and the flyweights and the middleweights. They don't see the joy in it. Everybody wants to see those big knockouts. We have a healthy heavyweight division right now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of positivity in pro boxing, man. There's a lot of positivity in amateur boxing. There's a lot of people taking part in amateur boxing. I was lucky enough to have two of my athletes qualify for the nationals last year in Canada. Man, there were hundreds of people there.
Wow.
Hundreds of people to watch amateur boxing, for the Canadian nationals. So it's healthy. So I guess we have to look at it two different things, like the pursuit of the sport and the current state and the current pool of professional boxers out there who are working hard and coming from a respectable background is good. So that's great. It's the image.
And the audience retention.
The audience and the image in the audience right now that's taking a fucking beating.
Yeah.
Pun intended. With this fucking stupidity, man, and it's got to stop. I think boxing's fine. I think like you said, there are elements in boxing. In UFC, you have a mandatory challenge. You win the shit, you're gonna fight that guy next. You're not ducking them. You're not talking about contracts. You're doing it. And I guess that's one thing where you're involved in one franchise with 1 or 2 people controlling it.
Yeah.
And you sign up to that, and that's what you do. And I've seen Bellator try to come in, and it's a decent organization. And there are a couple of others. I love the Bahraini organization Brave. It's set up by His Highness Sheikh Khalid. He's doing a fantastic job there.
Yeah.
I love seeing success within the Arab world. So MMA is great, but I think boxing is doing okay, but a lot of the fucking headlines right now are based around these clans. Yeah. And sadly, it's more interesting than the reality of the talent that's there, and it's getting the headlines, man. And this is what I'm saying, like, this shit needs to stop, like, fast. Like, people surely at some point are going to get bored of it, right? I mean, I was against McGregor and Mayweather having it.
Well, this is it. That's exactly.
I hated it.
Exactly.
I hated it. What are we doing here? Who cares?
And what's funny is I love McGregor. Obviously, I'm a massive Mayweather fan. Like, top 3, definitely the best defensive boxer of all time. Definitely in the top 5, possibly the top 3 boxers of all time. I love both guys, but I just couldn't believe that people were actually saying it was going to be competitive, right? And I was like, you guys aren't understanding. And I try to give different analogies. Like, it's like Wayne Gretzky playing hockey against, I don't know, some up-and-coming OHL player that is in the farm team of the Toronto Maple Leafs that hasn't even played a game yet.
It's not a match.
It's just, I don't know how to explain it. Like, the guy had 2 amateur fights as a boxer prior to going into MMA. And he's stepping up against the best and people are like, it's going to be competitive.
Who's never lost.
It's unreal. Like, it's just, So,
this is the thing. This is the thing with pay-per-view, okay? And just to really quickly, I know we're on a time constraint, but I think people need to understand this. And it's something that's overlooked. It's overlooked by people who know boxing. It's overlooked by a lot of people who don't get it. Pay-per-view and boxing promoters are not relying on boxing, like strict, passionate boxing fans. If they relied on strict, passionate boxing fans, there would be no business of boxing. They're relying on hyping the fight up as much as they can. I mean, McGregor and Mayweather did a world fucking tour and bitched and moaned at each other. It was a great pantomime. And people who don't really know boxing and like fighting, they're like, oh man, that's going to be great. And the thing is, when you don't know the difference, but you're prepared to pay $49.99 plus tax to watch this shit, the promoters don't give a fuck. And this is what's happening with these YouTube assholes now, man. Yeah. A lot of these kids are like boxing, MMA, fighting, whatever. Like, he's a tough guy. He's like me. He was, he's a geeky dude who went in and, great, cool. That's a cool image and personality shift and cool, like, for like fighting back against the bullies or whatever. That's great, man. Whatever. But like, does it help the sport? No. And this is where it comes into the hype, the social media, you can now, you don't have to read the quotes in the newspapers of press conferences between boxers anymore, which you probably have to do, or tune in for that 10 minutes I had of TV. Everybody taking a shit is going to watch the fucking whatever his name is, lobbing water balloons at
exactly.
The sparring buddy.
Daniel, I can't remember his name. Everybody can watch that now. I mean, and go, oh shit, there's going to be a big fight. Oh my god, I can't wait. And this is what they're doing. They're creating pantomime and using the sport for people who don't know anything about it, and say, oh, this is going to be a great fight. These are great fighters, and they're the ones that forfeit the $49.99.
Yeah,
this is where we're struggling.
Fair point, man. Fair point. Tariq, man, it was really cool. We're definitely gonna get you on. I think maybe we'll get you on and get my brother on at the same time. I think that'd be cool to have a 4-way.
That'd be awesome. No, I've loved it.
Yeah,
I've absolutely loved it. It was a great honor.
Pleasure, man. Pleasure.
Again, man, like, I can't believe I get to talk about this shit and enjoy it. I mean, this is my whole life, and being able to talk to people about it. And if I can inspire one person, that's awesome. And I'm very grateful that you guys invited me on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, pleasure. Man. Thank you. On that note, guys, like, subscribe, check it out, tell your friends, and we'll catch you once again. See you later, man.
Right.
Cheers.